In this video, we're going to look at how to create a quote, how to send it to your customer, what happens when the customer accepts the quote, and how to convert the quote into a sales invoice. To create a new quote, we go to the Business tab and click Quotes. Then click this button here. We then enter the name of the customer. The date will default to today's date, but you need to enter an expiry date. I'm going to make mine in a fortnight by entering +14. You can then continue entering the details of your quote. So here I'm going to insert my first line item, the quantity, the unit price, the chart of account code, and here I check if my GST treatment is correct. And then continue with as many line items as I need to enter. In this box, we can enter the terms of the quote. If your terms are always the same, you will want to save yourself entering them each time by adding them to your branding theme in the Invoice settings screen, just as we saw in the Sales Invoice 101 course. Then, to send the quote via Xero's online system, I click the green Send button. The email template then comes up. And here we see the terms that I wrote in. I then click Send, and the quote is sent to your customer. I'm now going to show you how that looks for your customer. So here is the email with the quote. We have the hyperlink for the online version. And we also have a PDF attachment of the quote. So if I click on the hyperlink, you will see that your customer can either accept, decline, or comment on the quote. They can also print a PDF version of it. Now, I'm the customer and I'm happy with the quote, so I'm going to accept it. Xero then sends you an email to let you know the quote has been accepted. And here is what the email looks like. So now we know the quote has been accepted, we can now go into Xero and convert the quote into an invoice. So we go back to the quotes screen, and all quotes that we create sit in the All tab, and the quotes that have been accepted sit in the Accepted tab. So we can just click into the quote, then click this button here, then click this button. And then Xero turns the quotes into a draft invoice. If the quote has since changed, you can edit the invoice accordingly. You will probably want to change the due date, check that we have everything, and then we can send the invoice by clicking Send. And as normal, you will find the invoice in the Awaiting Payments tab here. So let's now imagine that your customer hasn't accepted the quote you sent them via the online method. For example, they've accepted it via phone or email. How do we then convert the quote into an invoice? You would go to the quote screen and then go to the Sent tab. Click this button here and then click Mark as Accepted or as Declined if that is the case. So I'm going to click Mark as Accepted. Now let's imagine I don't want to send the invoice immediately. I want to send it at a later date. How do I find the quote to do that? Well, I go into the quote screen, I go to the Accepted tab, and then go through the same process as before. Only this time, I am going to click the Mark as Invoiced box, and I'll show you what that does in a moment. So as before, Xero has turned the quote into an invoice. I'm just going to make the necessary additions to it and then I'm going to send it. But this time not through the online system but by printing to PDF and emailing it, as we've seen in Module 1. So I'm going to show you what clicking the Mark as Invoiced box did. So if we go back to the quote screen, you will find the quote sitting in the Invoiced tab. So the Mark as Invoiced box merely puts the quote under the Invoice tab, which is a good way to show other users it has been converted to an invoice. And that is how to create and send quotes, what to do when your customer accepts them, and converting them into a sales invoice.